Okay. So tonight we are going to talk about the purpose and practice of mediumship. Is everybody familiar with mediumship here? Let's see, raise hands who is familiar with mediumship. Oh, yeah, quite a bit. That's good. So you help me, right? Well, mediumship is a concept that for some people, it brings a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of curiosity. Some will think that mediumship can be a little mysterious, supernatural, right? All sorts of things. But actually talk about mediumship under the light of Spiritism, that makes it very easy, very simple, because here we're talking about a tool or a faculty that some of us have to be able to communicate with the spirits, right? So, and I'm going to ask people from home to put in silence, please, mute. So we are going, where is my, okay, okay. Okay. Little pause. You worked before, you saw that. Okay. All right.
Participants has an 8 participants. If you close some top, yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Click on-
participant has enabled closed captioning? Who
I
can
think you
see
can
the?
close.
You can close that.
I just close here. You guys are making my life very interesting here.
No.
Yeah.
Is that
One
here?
more there.
All right. Okay. Starting all over. Now, let's talk about mediumship now, hopefully, right? Right at the beginning of the Medium's book, first chapter, Kardec will talk about reason with us. And we'll reason in the sense of who we are. We're spirits, right? No news there, no big news. We know. If you were spirits and we continue alive, right? There's no death except for the body. He is going to say that we will continue being who we are. Those we loved will continue loving. Hopefully, don't have those we hate, but if we do, we'll continue hating. It's not a magic, like you die and then suddenly you become a saint. Too bad. Bad news. So we continue being the same. Therefore, if those ones that we love, we want to be able to communicate with them, visit, get their visits. What else? Answer some questions if we can. Let them know how we are, right? I mean, we would love to have a cell phone to be able to talk directly to the ones we love here, correct? So here we continue this connection between the visible and the invisible world. That means, and this is quite interesting, the visible world, which is the material world, we can explore with our physical eyes, our senses, and we still build some special instruments. So if I want to see the space, explore the space, I have a telescope to do that. If I want to do the small world, I have a microscope, correct? So then for the invisible world or the world of the spirituality, how do I do that? Well, we have mediumship, correct? So just that already give us a lot of information right there. Mediumship, so that we can penetrate that invisible world. And we hear this all the time. We are all mediums, right? We're all mediums. So let's understand what that really means. We are all mediums because look at the medium's book. It says, everyone who senses the influence of spirits to any degree of intensity is a medium. That is to say, right, that we are all influenced. There was a previous talk was about the influence of the spirits in our lives, right? So every time that we have a thought, if we could separate some of the thoughts we have, they're not ours. It is an influence of a spirit. But why is that? An intuition is also coming from a spirit telling us. The difference is instead of I can't tell, the spirit's not here telling me, otherwise it would be a different kind of mediumship, right? It's just come to my own thought. I think it's my thought, but it doesn't matter because the same way that a friend can come and influence me and say, Tania, why don't you do this, that, it's my responsibility to act upon that, to decide what to do with that suggestion. It's the same thing about a thought, right? If I think something and I'm not sure whose that thought is, doesn't matter. It matters what I'm going to do about it. That kind of influence, that kind of mediumship, if you want, is subliminal. That means that is below the threshold of the consciousness. So it's there, it comes to my mind, but I don't know, or most of them I don't know. But then there is a different kind, and normally when we talk about mediumship, that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about this ostensive mediumship. That means, we have a real manifestation. We know that it's a spirit that it's either talking using the medium's voice or writing using the medium's hand, right? Those kind of mediumship that when we talk about, that's more what we think. That kind of mediumship, it's not for everyone. So we are all mediums, but we are not all ostensive mediums. Well, there are types of mediumship. We'll talk more about that, okay? But there are types of mediumship that cause an intelligent effect. That's also something we're very familiar with, or some of us are, where I get some messages, written, spoken, by, so the mediums, they receive this, and we're calling intelligent message because there is a reason behind it. It's in a way that it's all making sense. Different from when it's of physical effects. Why? Because those can be it will act upon the matter. So if I see a piece of furniture moving, right? Or being suspended, or if we are here and suddenly we hear, a tapping, a rapping, this is physical. It has to touch some corporeal body, right? And in that matter, there is also a particular one that a lot of people have been asking about, which is the healing mediumship. The healing mediumship is also a mediumship of physical effect because it will act upon the body and the perispirit, which has its semi-material. So the way we brought this up because it's important that we understand a few points about the healing mediumship. One of the points I'd like to make is that there is no superpower of the medium. We tend, or some people tend, to look at, mediums in general, not only a healing medium, but that is even more, as if a medium were Superman, Superwoman, or something like that, I don't know, but there is not such a thing, right? The mediumship has a purpose that we'll be talking about. That's very serious, very important. And in this case, the person who has this kind of mediumship is not working by him or herself. There is a team from the spirituality who take the energy from the medium, from other people from the room, from the high spirits, from nature, right? It's a combination that is done so that that person may or may not alleviate his or her pain or be cured, right? We're talking about the body, and we are not just body, right? Sometimes we get this distraction of wanting to be cured on the body, forgetting that, yeah, I can be cured now and tomorrow get it again because I'm the one who has to become a better person. So we're all welcome to search for the cure. We should. We go to the doctors, right? We try to get medication, of course. But remember that we are not only the body. So if we cure the body and forget the rest, the body will get sick again. So those points are important that we remember because this is something that is, a lot coming about. So these are the mediumships. I mean, we definitely just touched a few, right? But why is that? Remember, we talked about that not all mediums are, we are all mediums, but not all extensive mediums. And there we go. Is mediumship a privilege then?
No.
Right? No. Because you say, well, how come some are not? How come some are? There's so many questions like that for so many things. But we know that there is the divine justice, and God does not give any privileges to anyone. It is, I would say, a special sense, but it's not special in the sense that it's better than anything. It's just a little different for some people. The same way that it's not everybody that has the sight, not everybody, right? I mean, it can be the major part, I don't know. But those are things that will depend on what we need, we spirits need in order when we come to this reincarnation. So it's planned. Mediumship is an attribute of the incarnate spirit, right? To communicate, but that is something like everything else that we can plan. It is something we also plan before reincarnating. So why is that not everyone can develop mediumship? Well, not everyone needs that, or for this specific reincarnation. Doesn't mean that in other reincarnations we're not going to have that as one of our next or another sense. Let me tell you a little bit about that. Let's think that the opportunity it is for a medium to be in contact with the spirituality. They see or they hear or they, in a sense that you almost cannot say, I don't believe, because it's there. You're living it, right? So it's almost, think about it. We've been rebellious for so many reincarnations and gets to a point that God gives us the opportunity of saying, okay, now there's no excuse. You are going to have that. So you are going to really improve because you need that to make it's a push, right? So some mediums, very few, will have that as a mission. Very few. But most of the mediums will be the ones that have special needs, right? From the previous lives, or they will have a trial this time doing that and see if they can be moving forward, in their evolution. Okay? All right, so mediumship is physiological. We are either born with it or not. That's why not everybody can develop it. So this is a story about, I'm going to do a quick course, 1 year, and then I'll be a medium. Guess what? We'll see, right? Because the course is we learn about mediumship, we learn about the mechanisms, we learn what it is, the theory, and then we have the practice. During the practice, we will figure out who really was born with that feature, let's put it this way, right? But the center, and we're going to see, needs not only mediums. Medium is one of the tasks, one of the workers, right? There are many, many opportunities. If I'm really concerned about working, I don't need to be a medium. The other point here is, besides being come with us or not, it is independent of the morality, because the morality, the mediumship can happen to anybody, meaning age, from where we are from, or any situation. It does not pick one person or the other based on morals. And one would say, but how come? How come God will give that opportunity to people that are morally not fit, if I can say that way, right? Because every blessing, everything that we get from God is with the purpose of doing good, making it right, helping others, right? The same with mediumship. So otherwise, we can ask why somebody who is not honest will have intelligence, or there's so many questions about it. Well, these are the opportunities that we have. Intelligence and mediumship, they're neutral. They're not good or bad, right? We tend to think intelligence, of course, it's good. It depends if I use for good. If I use intelligence for bad, you go, oops, that's bad. But it's not the intelligence. It's not the mediumship that is a problem or a challenge, but it is how each one of us will make use of it. Okay? So, what we said before, right? Some will have, the mediumship will be as a mission, but not many. Some others will be for the need that we have. So let's face it, that mediums are not saints, apostles, special, anything like that. We're just regular people, right? It's just that we're on the same boat trying to improve ourselves through work in goodness, right? What about that? How do we identify mediumship? That's a $1 million question, right? Already there, we have Kardec saying that there is no means of diagnosing, even roughly, those who possess this faculty. There are some people that sometimes come and they say, oh, but I feel the presence. I see some dark or light spots in the house, or or I feel irritated if so and so happened. Are these signs of mediumship? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because sometimes it's purely an obsession, an imbalance, spiritual imbalance, right? That the person is going through. So the point is, when somebody comes and mentions certain feelings, we usually have the fraternal assistance, the spiritual treatment, right? The passes, come study with us. Let's, there is a certain process there so that the person, first of all, we will work on the balance, the spiritual balance of the person. If it is medium, if it is not mediumship, will get better, will disappear. And sometimes, even if it is mediumship, will be better until the person gets ready, gets prepared. Because it's not only by saying you are medium that you start working in the, at least in the Spiritist center, right? Some we know that some mediums, they are born, it's like a natural, it's a spontaneous mediumship, right? And almost comes in a natural way, meaning not with a lot of suffering, not in the household, not, like remember Chico Xavier, that, it's a natural. Still, he had a lot of suffering, but not with the mediumship per se. In other words, since he was a kid, right, or Divaldo Franco, or some others that we are aware of, and some that are anonymous, right? These are names that we know. They have to face it because it's something completely unusual for their families and them. So it's not, when we say natural, meaning it's already developed, right? It's already there. That's the kind of natural I'm talking about. For some, sometimes it takes a little more time to figure out because some people don't want that, right? They will go to places to want to get rid of mediumship. I don't want to feel, I want to be normal. I've heard that before, right? And basically, those usually are called the mediumship of a trial, something that comes because really the person needs it, and sometimes is not, doing the work. Does everybody need to be in a spirit center to be a medium in that specific way? No, right? I mean, this is what we work on. We know that is a good way to do it, right? But it's not any, again, no privilege of spiritism or spiritists, right? There are many different, not only religions, but also different ways that people will practice mediumship. And we respect everybody, right? If it works for every, somebody in a different way, that's fine. We are focusing, of course, the way that we conduct, the way that it's done in the Spiritist Center, right? Anyhow, and for some, not having a clue what's going on is a major problem. And the family, and sometimes people think that the person is going crazy when they say, oh, I see this person, or he or she's talking to me, or, and the others have no idea. They don't believe in life after death, in spirits talking, right? I bet that a lot of people get into institutions still these days because of the lack of the knowledge or even the indifference of the family, right? They don't want to deal with that. It's a big thing. Yeah.
Quick question, Marcy. What does it mean, previous plan for the reincarnation?
It means that even before reincarnating, we make our plans. It's not a destiny, but we have a set of plans that will help me. So I see what I need to learn during the reincarnation, right? Talk to the mentor, we come up with a plan. And this is one of the things that's planned in advance if you're going to have the mediumship, because it comes with us when we are born in the physical body, right? The perispirit and the physical body. So we plan to have it or not to have before reincarnating. Does that make sense?
Okay, so if it's my first time, so I have not reincarnated yet, but I'm here, I can have mediumship only if I reincarnate.
Well, that would be the first reincarnation, no, right? But that was in the primitive times, right?
Okay.
So we have been reincarnating many, many times to be where we are now. That's the understanding, right? So definitely, if we don't have any debts from the past, if we don't, we still can try to learn something from it, but that's less probable because the first incarnations, they are more basic. You need to learn really how to survive. You still don't even have what to,
Right.
to deal with in that matter, right? So it
Okay.
takes a little more basic stuff to do. But let's see if we finish and then we'll open for more questions, okay? Very good. So like we said, the problem is not the mediumship, but the negligence or really some people using in a different way, right? In a way that is not positive. Okay, so what is mediumship for? By now, I think we are all sure that it's for serious and useful purposes. What is that? What do we do with mediumship? Okay, basically, we have here a few points that are important to say. One is we get messages from the spirits, right? We learn from the spirituality. They help us progress because they tell us what is going on. All the books that we read in Spiritism, they came from, mediumship. The spirits telling us how is it that in the spiritual world, for example. We also are in a position to help those spirits that are a little confused or are suffering, that they don't understand what is going on, because it's not like everybody dies and everybody dies the body and then everybody goes to the same place, right? Or everybody believes in the same. No, there are all sorts of situations, and some of the spirits are, lost. Some can get a little upset. They are upset about, remember at the beginning, hate somebody, continue hating, and then you can let it go before we die. That's the advice, right? Because sometimes that hate or that feeling, that bad feeling, it's the one that will connect us. And instead of being free and keep going and looking for the things that we really need to do on the other side, we're still trying to get revenge. We're still trying to get my things. I don't want to let it go. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave my children. I want to be here. I am not going to leave the center right now. Just kidding. I will. But it is a possibility with the mediumship to dialogue, to talk like we are talking now, except that it's through the medium. And as we talk, we are able to help, like help each other figure things out, right? So people that are really locked in their vices and passions, that we can help. And we are the first ones to be helped. We workers in mediumship, because we learn a lot from other people's situation with a lot of respect, of course. And we are able, it's like an older sibling, right? If we're smart, we look what they do and we go, I'm not going there. That didn't work, right? So that's more or less what we learn as well. So, like we said, mediumship is not restricted to spiritists, has always existed throughout times, right, in history. And also, it is, different religions, different ways of manifestation, or how people will deal with the mediumship, right? But like we said, for different purpose, different reasons, things are done in different ways. But Spiritism will offer a framework to develop and to educate. Remember that develop mediumship, if we develop mediumship, it's because we have it, right? But we sometimes it's there, we are able to develop and educate, meaning how to, it's almost getting like a big force in nature and putting and directing it. Think of a waterfall, right? Which is the example they give. A waterfall, beautiful and a lot of force. But if it's not directed in a certain way, it's not going to produce, they're not going to give us electricity, for example. So the benefits are great when we know what we are doing with it. So that's why Spiritism has its specific purposes to work with mediumship. And that's why we are going to talk a little bit more now in the development and practice. So first of all, we talked about studying, learning about Spiritism, the basics. So what is it? How come? So the principle of reincarnation, the principle of, the immortality of the soul, the principle of being able to communicate, with the invisible world, and the mechanisms, how it's possible. Oh, we have not only the body, not only the spirit, but in between we have the pure spirit, that envelope of the spirit that is semi-material, has properties of matter, properties of spirit. And therefore, we are able, my body, right, that is very, not, how to say, I don't want to say a bad word, it's a very material, but very dense, thank you, very dense, I was not finding the word. For me to get that, what I feel here, to get to my spirit, it's all, we are three in one, right? The body, the pure spirit, the spirit. The pure spirit is in between. So the spirit feels, but will manifest in our brain or in our hearts, in our body, through the pure spirit. So it's very key to understand that, because you say, how does mediumship work? Does the spirit get inside our bodies? No, God forbid, right? There is not such a, this is a Hollywood mediumship, right? Where they have that kind of thing, because they're demonstrating something that they don't, in a very simple way. Basically, it's the approximation. The pure spirit of the spirit and the medium get close, and through the thought, the mental connection between the two. Oh, that's how it works. So we learn all that, and therefore we know what to do when we are sitting there. We learn how to control ourselves. We don't, fall on the ground, hit our head on the wall. It doesn't matter how upset the spirit is that is communicating, but we need to learn how to do that, right? This is education of the spirit. It's not a diploma, right? It's to learn how to know that this is my body. I'm not going to let the spirit take control. If I don't know how, right? He might, temporarily, of course. So we learn the basics, and we learn about mediumship in the Spiritist Center. We also work in a place that's safe. Let's understand that. Our homes, we don't open the door to everybody that's outside, right? We select whom we open the door for. Or do you open the door for everybody? No. So how come I'm going to think that as a medium, I'm going to open the door to every single spirit that wants to communicate? See the danger, right? So some people say, oh, how come not mediumship at home? Virtual, right? How come I shouldn't do that? Well, nothing is forbidden, but it's not necessarily the best. It's the same as opening your door. Why? Imagine you're by yourself at home and you decide that, okay, the spirit, I feel the approximation and oh, he or she needs to talk. I'm going to help because this is charity. Guess what? I decided, and I'm by myself, the spirit, and who is going to help? Who is going to do the prayer? Who is going to talk to the spirit? Who is going to help that spirit to move on? I'm by myself. Well, it's not a good idea. It's definitely a safe place to practice mediumship in the Spirit Center after you're prepared, because also we need to understand that we are always by the law of affinity, right? We are attracting good or bad spirits in our homes, beside us. Remember the influence? What kind of influence do I want? So when we are here and we have the mediumistic meeting, this place is prepared. We live here without a doubt in good shape. So that's something I like to really emphasize. Be aware of that. Okay? Can do anything, but not necessarily is the best. Also, mediumship, what we learn in the Spirit Center, and we talk about inner improvement, inner transformation, all sorts of, reform, changing to the best. We always talk about get to know yourself. What are the things that we need to change, get better, and so on and so forth. The spirituality is not expecting anyone to be perfect to be part of a mediumistic meeting. Otherwise, nobody would participate, right? No, nobody's perfect. So, no, but the moment that we are going towards this direction and trying to do the best we can to be better, we qualify. So this is very important for me to know. Well, how do we know what we are doing? How am I doing in this in God's laws and my improvement? How do we know that? That's why we study. We study the laws. We study the what Jesus told us. We study what God brought to us, and we compare. It's just us. I'm not going to ask anybody about me, right? Or judge somebody else's improvement or not. Yeah, that one we are, fast to do. But it is ourselves. And I know that I can definitely check on that myself. And we mentioned, let's be aware of organizations that promise anybody to do a quick course of mediumship and become a medium. So let's be aware that does not happen in a serious Spiritist center. And we talked about not home, not anywhere. I've had situations the person came to me and said, my mentor talked to me while I was driving. I almost hit my car. I said, oh, guess what? Your mentor would not put you in danger. I'm sorry. That's not, because the spirits, they can say whatever they want, like us. I can say here, Zé, I'm your mentor, right? I can say.
I believe.
Oh, you believe? But you know what I'm saying? So the spirits, the superior spirits, they do not put ourselves in that situation. So let's use our reason. Let's common sense, right? Those spirits, let's, it's not because they're spirits, they know everything or they have the best intentions. Sometimes they don't even know us. Not necessarily they want to do anything bad to us. They just have fun, right? Don't you know anybody incarnated that like to do this? Not necessarily this, but some sorts of jokes or having fun at expense of others, right? Because this is something that is dangerous. So let's be aware that there is a place for everything. And therefore, we live in the material world. We cannot be all the time in the spiritual world. And the tendency of some mediums sometimes, if they don't know, is to live in this la la land, in this, like as if everything is spiritual. All the time they're seeing spirits, all the time they're talking to spirits, all the time. That's not it. If we read the gospel according to Spiritism, there is the man in the world, or the human being in the world, to be political, men and women, right? Which means that we live in this world, we have to pace ourselves. We have to make our money, we have to survive, we have to live, we have our family, we have to have entertainment, right? There's a lot. Be aware not to get so distracted that we forget the spirituality, but not to just be there. Otherwise, we go cuckoo. We can't, right? That's not the reason. All right, so there, before we even start talking about it, can you see the two images there? Well, where it's too small. Yeah, so the top one, what we see, where we talk about a mediumistic meeting, right? Which is, I'll just get that one up there. What is that? It's a gathering of Spiritist workers with the purpose of exercising mediumship, of course, in a safe manner. We talked about that. To help discarnate spirits in their afflictions and to get enlightened messages from high spirits. So we have the two pictures there. Top one, we have a medium. She's in blue, okay? You see those connections with that spirit that is very upset, apparently, right? So she is a psychophony. She's talking. She is letting the spirit talk through her own voice, okay? And then we have the man standing with wearing glasses. He is the person who is talking to the spirit, to the medium, but that's the spirit talking. And we see the mentor or the guy that is with the hand on his forehead. You see all that? Mm-hmm. Also notice there are three people sitting. Those are the support team. They are doing the prayers. They will be the ones asked to give passes if needed. And if you look, they're all connected by some lights, right? Those lights are because they are in a very harmonious way, because they're all together. They're helping so that the dialoguer will get, the intuition, from the spirit. Not necessarily the person who is doing the dialogue is an ostensive medium, okay? But the intuition is there. In the bottom one, he's writing, it's psychography, right? Or automatic writing, some people call that way in English. And I see in the back those spirits that are influencing him to do the writing, right? The others are in the support. Then that's what we saw there. Those are the two teams, the spiritual team and the team of incarnate. So during the meeting, right, we talk, we dialogue with those spirits that I mentioned before. Spirits don't necessarily are very happy sometimes, upset, some obsessors sometimes that they really don't want to go. They are very upset with somebody and they want to be here. And the only way they listen sometimes takes many times, it's not automatically the first, is what? Through the dialogue. That's the Spiritist center. That's the Spiritism. That's the method that's used, is not to remove the spirits that are bothering us. Bothering because we have the affinity. Remember, we are not victims. If there is an obsessor, it's because the obsessed is opening the door, right? So the way it is done, once the spirit gets convinced that it's better to move on, let the justice of God work. I don't need to be doing this, and he or she moves on, then it's, the incarnate has to have a role too. Because sometimes one goes and the incarnate by the thought, remember, it's all thought, it's all mental, right? Will attract others. Not necessarily a particular problem, right? A particular situation of hate, but sometimes by affinity will attract other people that are very nervous, very irritated, or very this or very that, right? Whatever. But, and then suddenly goes one, comes back 10, right? So we need really, the inner transformation goes to everybody. It's not only one person. That's why we talked before about our responsibility in all this. Okay. Then we talked about the harmony. That harmony that we see that is represented with those lights, obviously, for mediums that can see, they will see those lights. That's why it's represented that way. It's not a fake, right? I mean, of course, the drawing is a representation of something that really happens. So the harmony is, the smaller the group, a little easier if the group itself is harmonic, right? It's very important. Because can you imagine if the medium, the dialoguer is talking and the lady in red there start thinking, I can't believe that guy is saying that way. How come he does not blah, blah, blah? What happens to the light there? It cuts the connection. It starts disturbing. It's very important that we are all in that symphony. We are all thinking and helping. Or, that's just one example that can cause a problem. If I'm there and say, okay, I'm here to do my work, and then I start thinking, oh gosh, I have a lot of laundry when I get back home. I shouldn't have come today. I'm so busy. Oh my God. Where's my mind? Am I working? Am I part of the team? I'm breaking their harmony, right? So just to understand, that's why some people ask, well, how come the mediumistic meetings are private? They're not right here in front of everybody. Can you imagine the more people think about other things, different things, and that is much harder. Obviously, Chico Xavier could do that. And I know some groups still do that, but it's getting more and more rare, right? It's not something, because it is very hard. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Like we said, love, work filled with love in our hearts and respect, and the way the assistance is done is through dialogue, passes, and prayers. Okay, mental connection, we talked about that. So what's a good medium? I put some there that we recognize just for, us to understand, but, Raul Teixeira, Sueli Caldas Schubert, Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, and then on purpose, I put down below the anonymous, right? It's not only those mediums that are good mediums. So we'll see. We have a few points to make. What is a good medium? Is that the medium that has 10 kinds of mediumship? Or the medium that talks to upset spirits or something? No, I don't know. That's not it. The good medium obviously understand all the things we talked about. Doesn't put him or herself in a better position than anybody, right? Work on his own or her own inner transformation and knowledge. We never stop studying. If you want to work with mediumship, Believe me, I've been working for many, many years, and every single time we're studying and learning every time, every time. So no stop studying, okay? Uh, the name of the spirit doesn't matter, right? I don't care. You know, give me the name you want. Remember, we talked about it. The spirits can say whatever name they want, right? It's not important. Important is the message. So if you get too attached that, oh gosh, I got a message from, and give a big name, right? Could be, could not be. But what is it saying, the message? What is the language, right? What is the content of that message? They know they're here to spread goodness, not to have any merit or praise themselves. There are many sacrifices, right? And of course, for those mediums that are more, you know, they have their missions, even though not only missions, right? They also have their own expiations and trials and stuff, but the more the sacrifice. So we see somebody, now we mentioned some here. It's you know, it's tough. It's not easy because it's your own time, right? What do we learn? That not to use that, that's not a profession. So it's not like, okay, I'll live from the mediumship. It's here. It's not a profession. So nobody's going to make money from mediumship. So these people here that we talked about, right? They worked in their own professions until they retired, and then they kept working on spiritism. So a lot of people, and most of people that are working as mediums or any activity in the center have their own professions and families. And on top of everything, they also find the time. So that's the sacrifice, time. And instead of sometimes being like a nice Saturday morning to be at the beach, we're talking to the spirits. That's nice, right? Okay, so it's a blessing. The good mediums are the ones, the more they learn, the more they are tuned with the message that we get from Jesus, from God, right? The more we are trying to make our inner transformation, we are a pure filter, not these filters like in Google, you know, in other, you know, browsers and stuff that you ask for three things and then comes all mixed up. Have you had that experience? Right? Now, in mediumship, how do we translate that? There is our own. We are also spirits, right? So imagine that I'm getting the message. Well, something will come from me. The better I get, the less will come from me, will come more from that spirit that is talking. It doesn't invalidate the message, right? But sometimes some language or sometimes it doesn't get through the way that it should, right? So a good medium is also always working on that matter. We are getting there. It's almost done. Basically, being a medium, every time we're connecting, remember that beginning, we're all mediums? We are. So every time that we connect to the high spirits, every time that we're helping, that we're taking care of our families, that we are giving a hug, that person that is in trouble, all those actions of love, right? Those are actions that connect us to the high spirits, and they use us as instruments of cure, of love, of consolation. It is the kind of mediumship that we all do all the time. We just need to be connected, right? Antennas up. And just to finish, the most important thing in spiritism is not the phenomenon. It's there. It's very important. We got all the codification that way, right? We are not saying, but that's not focus on the phenomenon. But what we are doing to become a better person, or the principles that we learn, the knowing that in law, the law of cause and effect, we are causing ourselves trouble or happiness. So we are that person. We have that in our hands. And thank you. I am going to
Stop recording.
oh, stop recording. Thank you. How do I stop? It's there.
Yes,
Okay.
same place, more,
Uh,
more, yeah, and stop.